call PUC to order at 4:04. Please rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No public input. Any other correspondence, Kathy?
No.
Okay. Approval of the regular meeting minutes of November 18th.
I'll make the motion, we accept those minutes.
I'll second. For discussion. Give you a second to look at them. Is there any additions or deletions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries. Approval of the 2020 meeting schedule.
Make the motion, we look at it.
Second.
Okay. Just a quick question here, you know, I keep on saying, usually that, like November 2nd, that's a Monday, it's the day before Election Day.
Well, technically, I mean, we're supposed to have 2 meetings a month, so I just put it on, and if we can't do it, we can't do it, we just
Yeah,
cancel
we
it.
can- Yeah, we can, you know, if there's some urgent business, then we could deal with it. If not, we can cancel it.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything else is okay, Kathy? I'm sure you looked at
Yeah,
it.
it's just, like I said, wherever, I noted on the bottom, wherever there's like a holiday, I just marked off on the bottom that, you know, what days there won't be meetings, like the end of the months, I think it's the first 2 months, and then there's, one in September. Yeah, that they just fall, you know, on the first Monday or whatever, so.
Okay.
And then we just have to have a special if we need one.
All right. Any other comments on the schedule? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries. I don't have to say anything. No deletions. Miles is here. All right, next, financial report.
Okay, I handed them out before. There's collection, tax collection this month, so the revenues are up. You can see the difference between October and November.
Wow, yeah.
Net revenue on the water is at 614,000, and sewer is 862,000. Everything is pretty normal when you go through the reports. Just to point out again, the capital items. In the water department, Grasso, of the 166,000, which is on page 4, 166, Grasso represents 143,628, and then, and that's in contracted services. And in capital construction, Wright Pierce is 33,000, the trucks are 26,000, and Zenelius is $5,000. So that's basically the bulk of that account. There's some small numbers besides. And then going into the sewer, we have our payment in there for the city of Danbury. It's 213,000 out of the 237,000, and that's on page 9. And in account 110 for the sewer, you've got, I didn't write it down, there's a few different things, but Weston and Sampson, 20,000. And then they're also in the other account, that 20,000's in the contracted services. In the capital improvements, you've got another $83,000 for them, and then you've got the Fords again, the trucks for $26,500. So that represents all of the capital equipment. But like I said, everything pretty much appears in order, and there's nothing that really pops out that looks out of whack, so.
All right.
Last month, we talked about that overbilling,
Yeah,
all right? and-
that was on the
Tom-
meter
and
issue?
Tom actually talked to.
Yeah, I have an answer to that. If you want to talk about it now, I have it on there under my director's report either way.
You want Tom to take care of that, or?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll-
Yeah,
Tom,
okay.
he spoke to Ann,
Yep.
and then he relayed the information to me, so, yeah, I mean, if Tom, if you wanna do it now, do it.
All right,
Yeah.
basically, if a meter runs backwards, the system can't calculate out like a negative. So what it does is it assumes that the consumption went all the way around, flipped the meter, came all the way back around again. So it comes up with a consumption of like 99 million gallons plus. And that works out to be about a $74,000 water bill and like a $56,000 sewer bill. So what happens is, when that happens, like when it initially happens, the revenue will show that as part of the revenue incorrectly. When then the reports come through and the tax collector catches it, then they have to put it in there as a negative to back it out. So really all it is it's a paper transaction.
And it was one person, right?
I think there were two.
Two?
Yes.
And they were never billed, right?
No,
The bills came out, but they weren't, or they might have been,
the tax collector, it can't generate a bill automatically. Like, in other words, if it goes backwards 100 gallons, it can't generate the bill for 100 gallons. So Paula will then she'll figure out what the bill should be. And she actually then bills it correctly for that 100 gallons. So that's why that negative number showed up, because it previously showed up as a positive number like in the month before.
And that was only 2 meters that did that?
Yes, because like I said, if you use 1,000 gallons and it's backwards, the system thinks you use 99,900,000 and it generates a bill for, on the water side, $74,000.
What causes the meter to go backwards?
On one of them, I think it was the customer put in a new water softener, and I guess wherever the valves were, what looks like what happened is when he reinstalled it, he put the meter horn in the wrong way.
Backwards.
Backwards, exactly.
Why did he take the meter out?
Yeah.
I don't know why on that particular case he needed
Well, the
to.
meters, yeah. the meters-
I think the valving or wherever it was located, I don't know, Kel, if you have any more.
What it is, sometimes the horns that we get, some of them have arrows as the direction of the water. Some of the horns you don't. And really, the only way you can do it is if you have the meter out and actually see which way the water is flowing before you put it. There's only certain horns that are like that, but they are very confusing because they're going through that same port and coming in and out. Some of them have arrows, some of them don't have arrows. Actually, if I wasn't so tied up with everything else, I was gonna bring a horn just to show you what I was talking about. But it's just, some of the horns have arrows, some of them don't. It's as we buy them, it's just the way they come in from tie sales.
Well, but the other question is, why was he messing with the horn when?
Well, that's,
Well, why,
yeah, I mean, why he took the horn out, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
well,
know.
who was the contractor? You know who it was?
Was it a contractor or a homeowner?
I don't know. We think it was the homeowner, but I don't know.
But did you notify them they can't tamper with that meter?
Well, one thing I asked Kelly to look into a little bit is if we can, basically get a piece of wire when we reinstall the meter.
Yeah.
So that
and-
if something else comes up on that same account, then you can see if he tampered with it.
Yeah.
There's a spot on the nut on the horn that you can put a piece of wire through,
Right.
bring it back onto the meter, and then you crimp something. Years ago, they used to be lead, and we had to do away with them because they were lead. But they do make a locking device that you can do that. So, and that's, where we have issues like that, we're probably gonna start locking them.
Yeah, well, I think we should
Yeah.
do that then.
Yeah.
But that's
I would
interesting.
notify them, too.
And you
I
know what,
remember
even-
those lead washers.
Right.
Yeah, you remember, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You have to put the wire through.
Yeah.
but it-
That's
to
right.
curve it, yeah.
Or when you see that report and it shows a negative 74,000,
Yeah, it
It's one-
kicks
it's-
it out
it's
really
one-
quick.
it's one
Yeah.
account.
All right, it's one account.
And I
was thinking it was hundreds of accounts.
I actually did the math and I calculated out what our bill would be for I picked 1,000 gallon consumption. If it went backwards 1,000, the meter's gonna think, it's gonna generate a bill where it goes all the way around, comes back again. And I calculated out the bill and it was about 74,000 plus.
Okay.
Bob, just a quick question. The fiscal year, I don't, you were gonna give us a presentation eventually, once the auditors got through?
Yeah, I'm supposed to get this week
Okay,
a draft of the audit report,
Right.
and it should be finalized before Christmas.
Okay.
So I'll get you the numbers at that point.
that'll tell us, I'm assuming it'll tell us what kind of total outstanding debt that we have, as well as what we owe to the town.
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. All right, thank you.
All right, we'll go to invoices. I'll make a motion, put on the table for approval of the invoices in $17,307.46.
Second.
So we still owe True Blue a little more retainage?
This is the retainage. We've already.
Well, is it, well, with this, does that make it 98.7%, or does it make it 100%? That's why I was asking.
Yeah, I know, I just noticed that now. It may be because the total project came in under what the total amount estimated was,
Oh, yeah?
based on the unit quantities. We definitely,
Oh.
it definitely came in under, because he didn't have all the rock, he didn't have,
Okay.
certain items went over, certain
Okay.
items went under.
Well, that makes a good point. Could we see what it actually was
Yes,
in the next meeting or something?
yes, I will get that.
All right, thank you.
But the overall project, from what we earmarked and what the bid was,
Was,
the
okay.
total came in under.
All right.
This 16,000, we've already received from the state, so we've already been paid it, and now we're, X amount of time has gone by, now we're paying it back to the contract.
Okay, it answers my question, thank you very much. Any other questions on the invoices?
No?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, carries. All right, so we talked about the meter issue already.
Yes.
Hickok Avenue update,
Okay, Hickok, if you recall,
director's report.
if you recall on Hickok, we got a couple of landlocked parcels. There's 3 of them, actually, one of which is owned by the town, the former tank lot. So one of the property owners wanted to know, could he get utilities up there? I referred that over to Marty to have him kind of double check that for us. Marty's review was that the passway that's currently in use, coming in from Hickok, the language only allows to pass and repass. So that if the property owner does want to pursue potentially putting in utilities, he'd need to come up with like a revised easement or revised language for an easement, and then get the approval from the property owners to see that that's okay. Go through the whole process, get it all filed. Now, once he has an easement that allows utilities, he can take it to the next step.
Are we putting water and sewer in the same trench?
I wasn't necessarily suggesting that. You got a narrow right-of-way. It's gonna be hard to put in 2 water lines and 2 sewer lines, 4 separate trenches in that 120. But if they were a single water service, then that could serve like a private water service, kind of like on a development where it's a private line going in, and then it serves the
So only
dwellings.
one lot could be really,
Unless if it was approved that they could share that one service, kind of like a condo where there's one line going in, and then it would serve multiple units.
Well,
That
like,
would be about the only real way to do it, I think, other
Well,
than
it'd be a main going, they would have to do.
a private main
A
or a
private main.
town-owned main, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend a town-owned main.
Yeah.
And again, it's the same thing with sewer. It would either be a private sewer line or a town-owned sewer line.
Who actually owns that right away? Is one of the lot owners?
Yeah, I think it's the gentleman who we had a long discussion before on Hickok. What's his name?
Vincent,
Vincent, that's it.
it's number 24.
Right, I believe he owns it.
That passway is on the western side of his property, which has frontage on Hickok.
Right.
And
Oh,
then,
that's the gentleman that wanted to do something with the sewer on the back of the house or
Or a
something.
lot, yeah.
And then Vincent also owns one of the 3 lots that utilize the passway.
Right.
Lath Poland is the gentleman who's further west, who's the one that really approached me and inquired.
Yeah, there's no language in the deeds for anything other than the rights to pass and repass. I don't know how the town of Bethel's got a water line through there. I don't know how they got it, because it's not in the deed.
Okay.
It was never granted.
It does show on the maps when they kind of extended the mains and did.
Somebody just went ahead and did
In
it.
fact, they have a name on it. It's called, I've seen on the map Dillon Court. Did you come across?
No, I didn't see that. That could be in one. And then, of course, there's a couple of deeds that I can't even read. They're so hand, that they go back 100 years.
1890s.
But yeah, there's nothing, you can't expand the easement, you know.
So my next step was gonna be to let the property owner
No,
know.
just send them the letter that Marty sent.
Basically,
They
yeah.
have to do it.
And then here's your option, if you wanna pursue something,
As far as
then.
we're concerned, yeah.
Exactly, so that's all.
Yeah.
It's off the agenda.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Generator update?
Generators, the 2 generators are on the list with the health department for their intended use plan. They had their public hearing about a week and a half ago. So the funding now is part of the program, and now I've just gotta take it to the next step and get the applications going. The next item we've talked about is the Maple Wells. We ran well 1 for a 24-hour period. We put it into the system overnight. We had no problem with it. We ran well 2. We ran that in the morning, about 9:30 a.m., and I think we got an alarm call maybe 10 hours later. The well shut down. When we investigated, it had a burnt wire and it had a burnt board in the VFD. That's the original VFD for that. So we looked into getting a replacement, which I've got in the works, and should be scheduled to get installed Thursday. Once that's installed, we're gonna then do a test with running well 2 into the system for at least an overnight, a 24-hour period. Once I get that solidified, then we can continue to pursue getting some maintenance done on wells 1A and 2A.
How's the water table down there now?
In the wells, you know what,
We're still drawing it down, similar to what we were drawing it down to over the last couple of months. So it doesn't look like it's getting worse, but it did drop quite a bit, to the point where we need to look at it and see what the story is. With respect to that, I did get some quotes. I got 4 quotes. They ranged from, the lowest was like 32,000 plus, the highest was like 69,000 plus. The 32,000 low, the pump, he had some kind of an airlift pump, and it looked like when it got deeper, it was not gonna put out the same head. We're looking to redevelop it for at 500 gallons a minute, is what Wright Pierce, was suggesting that we do. So that low bidder with that airlift pump didn't look like the right way to go. We're gonna look towards the other contractor, and his number was about 39,000. Whether we spend all 39, it's gonna include basically video cameraing before and after, redeveloping it for 30 hours at 500 gallons a minute, and then a laundry list of different chemicals that could be utilized depending on what they see when they video it. And that would cover both wells.
Are they variable speed? Or no, they're variable speed, right?
They
Because
are.
the only way you can monitor filling the tank up at Eureka, right?
Yeah, they vary. We pretty much have them, we don't have them
No, they go
running.
up and down, no, I understand it.
High tank level, we have them drop to 70. Low tank level, we have them kick back to 100. That's
Right.
kind of how they've been running it for the last, since they got put in. And that's keeping up the tank. That's giving us some fluctuation in the tank.
Do
So-
you want a motion to move forward on that, or you just still?
No, I have the numbers. I don't know if I brought that with me. Yes, I did. I've got a low bidder for rehabilitating Maple Wells 1A and 2A. It was Dennis Marr Corporation. Just put it down as Marr, M-A-H-E-R. And their quoted price was $39,317. So if I get an approval to authorize them to, you know, get that work scheduled.
I'll make a motion that we approve Mars?
Yeah, I think you say it as Mahar.
What's the rest of their name?
Sorry?
What's the rest of their name? Just to do the rehabilitation at, well,
It's
1A
a
and-
first name, I think it's
and
Dennis,
2A?
I think it's Dennis Marr, but I didn't commit his first name
All
to
right.
memory.
Mar Corporation.
Well, he's a
Mar
well
Corporation.
driller. There's only the one that we're talking about.
And this is for, well, 1A and 2A?
Correct,
For rehabilitation of those two wells?
yes. If you want to say it, including video before and after,
Okay. Video.
well
before and after.
redevelopment and chemical rehabilitation.
Is it 1 and 1A or 1A and 2?
It's, oh, I'm sorry, you're right, Marty, thank you. It's wells 1A and 2A. I apologize. The two new wells.
Right. That's what.
All right,
I
what else
had
did
that.
you say video before and after and wells?
And chemical.
Well
analysis.
redevelopment at 500 gallons per minute. And chemical cleaning. Or chemical rehabilitation.
And then are you gonna say the amount, in the amount of, or in
39,317.
Correct.
okay? Did you second, Paul?
We have- Any other discussion on it?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank
I
you.
got a question.
Yeah.
Chestnut, that subdivision going in there, what's going in up there with DeMarco's working?
42, 44, 46,
Little thinkers.
the old Little Thinkers. I think he's got 11 units, I think.
How come he
There's-
never came before us, did he?
He didn't. The number he's looking, the sewer allocation that he needs is under the limit for PUC, so.
Oh, I understand.
Right, so I didn't have him come in here specifically.
Well, we should at least looked at what he was doing with the lines and stuff. How big is the water line going in there?
He's gonna put in, was it a 6-inch, Kel, or you're gonna bring in one, it's 9 standalone single units with one duplex, so he's got 11 units. He had
11
some,
water lines, 11.
he had like a crazy loop, and he was gonna try to use the existing 2-inch tap that was there. We told him, disconnect the existing 3/4, which was domestic, disconnect the existing 2-inch, which I think was a fire, believe it or not.
At that time, it was.
He's gonna bring in one 6-inch line in from the street, it's gonna make a right-hand bend and bring it down, and then he's gonna run his taps to all 11 units individually off of that line. We're gonna have a fire hydrant off of that line near the curb line. We're gonna have a curb valve right thereafter. The curb valve will be the defining point between our side and the customer side.
Now, is there a sewer easement in the back of that property?
You gotta cross the brook to get to it. I don't think there's an easement. There's 3 laterals that come out because there was 3 different units there.
Nowhere where he's working?
No,
It's on the other side of the brook.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's,
So the only thing I'm saying, even though we should at least look at the plan.
okay.
Not that we're trying to.
We'll do, if there's something, if there's a
But
bigger
we
type
shouldn't-
of,
Because if anybody asks a question, we have no idea what the hell they're doing.
Understood.
These are all rental units, right? Or are they condos?
I think they're condos.
They're condos,
They're selling.
I forget, I think there's
Like
some, but they're gonna be individually metered.
Yeah.
Individual
Like he
laterals,
did up
individual
on the
water
other-
services.
Yeah, they are condos, if it's in water and
Natural.
sewer, they're condo units, yeah.
Yeah.
Who's gonna own the 6-inch main?
It's gonna be a private main.
We're gonna own it until the shut off just after the hydrant. That'll be ours.
So if they've got a condo association, it'll be theirs. If there's a leak on it, it's theirs to fix. Kinda like some of the other, what's the one down? Plum trees?
I was
How come-
always under the impression that
Well,
you had to run it off the main. You had to run separate lines off the main, not a private main or anything like that.
Right.
That was always my impression.
See, we were told before that there were no private lines, we own the lines.
Right, I mean, like down
The dump
the,
down, if there's a problem, the association don't take care of it, we gotta go and take care of it.
We can certainly do it that way.
No, no, I'm not, but I'm just
you know, like.
saying.
And get an
like-
easement
Like
from-
we
and
did
get an
down to the
easement
gravel
from-
bank. We own all the
We
water
own-
mains.
We own
and-
everything down there, down at the, down at the gravel bank, both sides.
Yeah.
This is no different.
I mean, if they had a water main break and don't take care of it, I mean, I thought that was the whole issue of us following.
We've got to shut
Well,
off.
see, what
if
happened
That's the
was-
case.
What happened with Kingswood, they had major break up there, right? And they were used going through all kind of water, they didn't really care, because it wasn't being metered, was that, right?
Yeah, the only thing we do is just shut them, shut the meter.
Right, so now if we own it, then we have a right to be able to fix the damn thing, because we're gonna dump on us anyways later on.
I don't think that they would have any problem giving that main to us. I could go back to them and say,
It can't be private.
okay.
What'd we do over for Bruno over here on Worcester Street?
We took that to the curb. We took
So we
ownership
took
of the curb.
ownership of the main, so I think, be consistent, we should own the mains everywhere. To be consistent.
Yep. Well, that's the thing, I mean, the way I've seen a lot of these condos going in, they seem to
Yeah.
be private.
Yeah.
So it's.
No,
we- If we want to become more consistent,
We're
then
not-
I will definitely structure it that way, for
We're
sure.
not blaming you, we're just saying.
No, I get it.
You know what I mean,
That's the reason why.
because we end up with it.
I don't think there'll be any problem if I go back to them and say, we want to own the main and
Main, yeah.
give it to us in an easement.
Yeah.
I think we should
That-
have them come in and have at least detailed drawings of how this is going to be.
Yeah, no, it's, they did,
Yeah,
Paul.
he has it,
Oh.
but
Okay.
they were under the limit, so he.
That's
they
why
didn't have to come
I
in
didn't
and
see anything,
ask.
so-
The only thing I'm
But-
saying is, even though they're under the limit, we should at least look at the plans, because
Right.
somebody on the street say, what's going up there, how many years ago? No
Yeah.
idea.
I did.
Understood, they'll have no
Yeah,
problem if
yeah.
I ask them to come in and
Right.
present at a PUC meeting, they'll have no
Just to
problem.
show us that what it looks like, that's all.
You got it.
And when it was brought to my attention, I did talk to Tom about it and we discussed it, so.
Yeah, so if there's
so
anything,
to
any
keep
large,
us aware what's going on.
if there's any larger type development,
Well, it
I'll,
was like the water line down here broke down by Mulaney's old building, right? I mean, I got all kind of calls on that, wow, the tracks are floating away and all this other stuff, you know, yeah.
Okay. So we voted on that.
okay,
and,
that's all I had. I have other stuff, but it'll be on later on in the agenda.
Well, we're up to new business.
I'm next anyway. Okay, on this first item, I'm asking for an approval to award the contract for the sanitary sewer rehabilitation project for sub-areas 9, 12, and 15, Phase 1, to National Water Main Cleaning in the amount of $249,836.30. I submitted I think the bid summary, the bid tabulation. I don't know if their letter went in as well, the Weston and Sampson recommendation. So the project basically is what we've been looking at. It was the 9, 12, and 15 design that they just completed, and it's basically a liner project.
Mhm. All right, I'll put a motion on the table that we approve National Water Main Cleaning Company of Canton, Maine, Massachusetts, for $249,836.30.
Second.
And are they gonna start right away on this, or are they gonna wait till spring?
Well, I haven't gotten that far with them. I figured let's get the contract awarded.
Awarded.
As I've talked with Weston and Sampson throughout, these lining jobs seem to be a winter, it's good work for the winter.
No winter?
So I'm fully expecting, we'll award the contract, go with the notice to proceed, and, the shop drawing submittal will go through the whole process, and I'm guessing that they'll want to start ASAP.
Did this include the couple urgent repairs down on
Plum
Maple?
trees.
Yeah,
That's gonna take care of the
Plum
leak down in Plum Trees?
Yep,
Yeah.
okay,
yep, that's part of it.
okay. And does Marty have to review the contract?
I think I gave it to Marty way back when, and
Yeah, I looked at it quick, I didn't go with the fund.
Okay.
The specs are ridiculous.
Oh,
that was
that was the
300
one.
pages of technical specifications.
wait till I send you the Chestnut Ridge water storage tank. at 1,000-something pages.
Okay.
I don't think my computer could handle it.
Should I save you the effort?
Why don't you print it out for me?
All right, any other discussion on,
No.
Yeah.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Carried.
All right, the next item is kind of a companion to that. I'm looking for approval on an amendment to the engineering services agreement for the construction phase services for sub-areas 9, 12, and 15 to Weston and Sampson in the amount of $27,721.18.
And this is because,
This would be to basically construction administration on this sewer project.
on this project
On
that
this
we just
particular
approved.
project that we just approved, correct. It would include shop drawing review, it would include maybe a weekly meeting with us. I think they threw in a couple of monthly meetings. I don't know that I'll need them for all of that, but I think Kelly and I will probably be able to stay with the contractor more so on a daily basis and kind of just utilize, their services as needed. And that'll kind of help get Kelly and I more familiar with this type of work.
I'll make a motion that we amend the agreement with Webster and Sampson for engineering services to oversee the construction phase in the amount of $27,721.18.
Second.
Excuse me, can I ask a question?
Yes.
I don't wanna appear stupid, but the cost ceiling is $24,844.80. The fixed fee is $2,876.38. The total contract is $27,721.18. Somebody wanna explain that to me? What's the cost ceiling? And what's the fixed fee?
I think this is their standard construction cost structure when they do this. It'll cover their time and their overhead, similar to all the bills we've been getting on all the sanitary sewer evaluations. In fact, on page 3 of that,
Right. it
Yeah, I
shows
saw
it.
that.
that's this number added into the design phases. I'm not an expert at this point in how they structure that. I know it's a standard, like a cost plus type contract.
Yeah, it looks like it's something they add onto it, onto the fee.
It's basically set up to cover their hourly rate, their overhead, direct and indirect, and their reimbursables.
What's your pleasure, Marty?
Why don't you just put down not to exceed the total amount of $27,720?
I'll amend my motion
That- I
to
think that
not to
works.
exceed the total contract price of $27,721.18.
And I'll amend my second.
And maybe if you get a clarification.
I
of
will.
what
I'll
fixed fees
I'll get
means.
educated on it, or more educated.
Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You see the back of the sheet, Mark?
Carried.
Yeah, I saw that.
Huh? Do the rest of it, say, please, now.
Okay. All right, we up to old business?
Okay, I guess that's me again. The PUC projects, all right, I'll try to run through these for you here. Bergstrom Well, we received our DEEP, Department of Energy and Environmental Protection diversion permit for 800 gallons a minute, the number we were looking for. DPH is going to approve our safe yield in that amount also. They have kind of a cookbook way they approve the safe yields, and it's just, they take the gallon per minute that you test it at, and they chop it down, they take 75% of that number. We submitted to them Wright Pierce's hydrology, and their analysis came up with a higher number. They're willing to accept it. I think we're probably like the first ones in the state that they're accepting this of. And we're gonna go ahead and meet with them in January. And Wright Pierce is gonna do a presentation for them to kind of educate their staff. I guess the main guy that reviews these things for them is getting ready to retire, so they want to get a little bit of education.
Education, huh?
And then, so we're gonna get our approval letter after we have that presentation with them.
So it's gonna be something less than the 100 gallon?
No, it's gonna be the 800.
Oh, it'll be
They
the-
gave us a preliminary safe yield of lesser, and we kind of pursued that with them, had a meeting with them, and pointed out that Deep had no problem with the 800 gallons a minute, and they're buying in, and they just wanted to have a presentation for their staff. I think once we do that, we're scheduled for January 16th, then I should be able to get that approval. The pilot testing is probably gonna be the next step. We're kind of into the winter here, and I don't think it's gonna be too practical to try to do this in January. So I'm looking at now moving this back a little bit to the spring. And I have other item that I'm looking at that's gonna kind of dovetail with this, and I'll get to that at the end. The Chestnut Tank project, the bid opening is scheduled for tomorrow. So if town hall's open, we'll have that bid opening. The 2019 water mains, the next set that we're gonna do, I'm waiting on the authorization to award from the health department. The email I got today is, it's good, we're just waiting on the commissioner's signature. So once she signs that letter, I can get back to Earth Movers and try to figure out now, submittals, and what kind of schedule does he think he's looking at this point.
Okay.
The 2018 water mains, which we're basically wrapping up, that's the Grasso construction. His last item is the overlay and help me out with the word here.
Permanent
The
paving.
the permanent paving on the patch that's at Farnham Hill on Greenwood. He's looking at coming back Thursday and completing that.
Oh, yeah,
Try-
I was wondering why there was a,
He tried to do something last week that didn't quite meet what the state wanted, so they basically shut him down. And he refilled in the patch. Now he's got mill and overlay, I lost track of the word. He got to do a mill and overlay 20 feet beyond the patch width
Okay.
and curb to center line. So he's gonna have to do that per their spec.
okay. And that'll get done yet this year?
That's,
Weather.
he's looking at Thursday. He emailed me this afternoon. He's looking
Okay.
at scheduling that for Thursday.
Yeah, I wonder why there was a bump there when you drove over it.
Well, they jackhammered it instead of milled it.
Yeah,
They thought they were gonna get away with something, and the state come by, shut them right down.
okay.
So it was
Good.
just, it was something they tried, and believe me, it was not enough time.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's
All
just
right.
gonna get paid for the mill and overlay per the specs.
Per the specs, yeah.
So once he does this, that should wrap up all the construction, then it's chasing him for some paperwork and hold retainage and that type of thing.
Okay. Just offhand, is that under budget?
Yes,
Good.
same thing. Some
Same.
items went over, but most of the items went under.
Look, okay.
I don't have that final number for you, but
All right, I just-
I'll get that with the True Blue. I'll let you know both numbers
All
next
right.
time. Okay, my last item, since I think at this point, with the pilot testing, we've got to put it off a little bit. We're gonna have a delay of about maybe almost 3 months before we get to that point.
Yeah.
My last meeting with the health department, they're kind of pointing out to me that some of the design work that we do, that we've been doing, is actually eligible for DWSRF funding through grants and loans. But you gotta follow their process. It's called QBS, Qualification-Based Selection. So if we go through that process and then select our design consultant and then get DPH to approve it, we can now start to get reimbursement or, get some of those monies included in with the DWSRF project. Right now, the way we've been doing these projects, only the construction money has been eligible.
Who's gonna write for that grant? You?
Oh, no, we're already approved on the projects that we're working on. But what I'm saying now is some of the engineering work that we want to do, that we still need to do,
Yeah.
we've been just paying out of pocket.
Right.
And-
Approve the engineering.
And so I say this, and on the one hand, I don't suggest that we go in this direction at all because of Wright Pierce and the quality of the work they're doing, but I'm suggesting that we do this to take advantage of the ability to get some of the funding. So, in a nutshell, you've got to put out an RFQ to multiple design firms.
Right,
You get the RFQ back,
right.
you shortlist it down to 3.
Mhm.
You ask them to come back with a request for proposal, then you make your selection. So the whole selection is, like I said, based on qualifications. It's not based on price. You go with who you think your best engineer is. So I've been in the process of writing a request for qualifications, and I'd like to go ahead and, get that in the works, request the quals, get the information back, and just proceed with it, and we see where we go from there.
Will this hold up any timeframe of getting
I
the
think.
pilot test done?
I think the process, I could probably get it done if I, like I said, I kind of have a couple of drafts written. If I jump on it, which I intend to, I think we could probably get it done within a 3-month period. So we could be at the point where, the design work, including the pilot work, would be included in the DWSRF. The construction administration that we probably are gonna need to do with the tank project can get included in that. And the SCADA design, which I've kind of been holding back on.
There's quite a few things.
So I think there's a good amount of engineering work that we are gonna need to do that will now, and actually, the guy from the state's been helping me out a little bit. He says, give me an updated cost, including some of those engineering fees. Even though they're not approved yet, let's get those numbers included, go through the process, and once we approve your engineer, then those numbers will be in this existing project, as opposed to having to submit to have it in next year's. So he's working with us pretty well at the health department. And like I said, I don't have any qualms about the work we've been getting, but I think it's just an opportunity for us to, have some eligibility on some funding.
Okay.
Will your RFQ include Wright Pierce?
Yes, my intention would be, for sure, yes.
Is the health department requiring, in order to get the loan or any grants, requiring that it go to the lowest bidder?
No, that's the whole beauty about, for
Qualification.
engineering services, it's qualification-based selection,
Okay.
QBS. So even if you have 2 engineers that you think are equal,
Yeah,
you can make your decision based on who you think's gonna do the best job for you.
okay.
So I think it'll be a benefit to us.
So you want an authorization to do that?
That would be good, yes.
Do you have a motion written out?
I don't, but how about a motion that says that we pursue the qualification-based selection process to select a design engineer for approval by the Department of Public Health? It's kind of
So
broad,
move.
but I'll work on the pieces
Yeah.
that I need to do to get
Alright.
it done.
Okay,
Second.
got it.
Now that we have a second, I think we discussed it to death already.
No.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you. And that was it for me.
all right. Kelly, you're up.
Yes, I am. I am gonna start with the easy stuff first. This past month, we changed out 50 bad MIUs. Those are the outside readers on the meters that we've got a bunch of stop meters out there. So in the past 3 weeks, we've been going out, we got 50 of them done, and there's probably another 40 or 50 to be done. The good part is they're not in pits. Paula and her girls are putting out appointments. We're getting them, we're getting 5 of them a day, and we've been having good luck. They're just, the MIUs are past their existence. They told us they're good for 10 years, and we're working, from what I understand, we're working out over 15 years on them. The batteries failed, so what we're doing is it's not the meter heads or the meters, it's the reading device that you find hanging on the house or in the meter pits. So we're moving forward on that, we're getting quite a bit done.
So is that something that's gonna be ongoing, these failures?
Yeah, I think so. They're gonna be a while. I mean, we're keeping a box or two, and as they come in, as Paula gets them in, we're trying to stay, not ahead of it, but right behind it to get them changed out.
How do you know they're broken?
They come in as a no read.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Then when you put the new battery on, it reads
Yeah.
what it had used.
Some of them you can jump with a battery, but some of them are just getting to the point where they're obsolete and they need to be changed out. Second thing is, last Tuesday, in the middle of everything down here, we had a main break on Spring Hill between Whippoorwill and Winthrop. It was causing two of our service pumps to go on at Hoyts Hill. So within about 3 hours, we had that back up and sealed up and back up and running. Presently, there's a small service leak on Hudson Glen on the customer side. They're working toward getting that taken care of. And as for the sewer side, everything is status quo. So now to get back down here at the train tracks. We've got a leak on the 10-inch line. It's 1880 era main. Again, it's 10-inch. The valves are 1880 valves. I'm gonna give you a timeline as to what's going on the past week, because we've really been up against it. Tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock during the height of the storm, we saw cut this morning. We're gonna dig up both ends, and we're gonna have insertion valves put in. So again, I wanna give you the timeline to understood what went on. Sunday afternoon, we got a call to shut off the water to Boylan's building, the chiropractic building. They had water which they thought was coming out of the foundation in the back of the building. So it was Wilton Plumbing, and they were the ones that called to have it shut off. So I sent one of our guys down. They couldn't get onto the curb stop in there. So Boylan brought in another contractor to dig up. That's not Boylan, I'm sorry.
Wilton Plumbing.
Richfield Plumbing. They brought in another contractor. They dug it up, found that the head was gone on the wheel valve. So with that, it becomes our ownership because of our new rules and regs. So we had a new curb stop put in. When they did this, they found no leak whatsoever. They couldn't hear it. The water was still running after they shut it off. So they searched around the building and they saw water running down the railroad tracks. So with that, later in the day on Monday, Ed Knapp said we've got something going on because we're seeing about a 100,000 gallon increase per day, which comes out to about just under 70 gallons a minute. So we started looking into it. Now Monday, I said about excavating the shutoff, no leak found. Monday at 4 p.m. we brought somebody in to do leak survey, but it was just too dangerous. It was raining and it was crazy in the middle of the road. So they came back in Tuesday at 4 a.m. and they did leak survey through the area. They had an area somewhat pinpointed within probably about 15 feet of the tracks. That's where they got their most noise with the correlator and the ground mics. So Tuesday, let's see, that was Tuesday in the morning. Wednesday we met with, or Tuesday we met with the MTA, because there's a lot of restrictions when we get close to them tracks, and when the arms come down, and when we can be on the tracks, when we can't be on the tracks. There's 3 different supervisors we had to deal with. It was the traffic supervisor, the track supervisor, and the maintenance supervisor. So we had to get permission from them to do any work so close to the tracks. So Wednesday night, we dug it up. We got out there at 9 o'clock, we dug up this area, about a 10-foot dug down to the main, no water. We got to the ground, we got to the, the ground level of the water, which basically it wasn't coming into the hole, it was just sitting there, so we knew this wasn't our leak. They listened on the main, you can hear it, it's screaming. They put the devices on their ears. They didn't even have to put the device on their ears, they could hear it screaming. We asked them if we could drill 10 feet toward the tracks. They were very reluctant to let us drill. We went down through the asphalt, sent a probe down 4 feet, no water. So while we're in there, we took a blowpipe, we blew along the top of the main horizontally to see if we could get into the cell where the leak was. Nothing, no water whatsoever. They came back again, did some more leak survey, they're really pinpointing, they're really leaning toward in the tracks. Now, we've got water coming up about 150, well, 100 feet?
Yeah, 80 to 100 feet maybe.
100 feet down toward Danbury, we got water coming out of the tracks, it's running along the side, and it's dispersing down into the swamp. So, Tom and myself, we were going back and forth with different ideas. We put together about 4 or 5 different options. The only thing that we've come up with now is we're gonna do an insertion valve tomorrow morning. What that does is that will go in, cut a coupon out of the valve, drop in a new gate, and we've done it far enough away. They're approximately probably 30 feet from the tracks each way, so now we don't fall into the jurisdiction of the MTA. The only thing we have in there is we've got an 8-inch valve that goes into Front Street, so we would just have to shut that. Also, the 2 inline valves, we've got different numbers on shutting them down, and we know we're not getting a good shutdown. Again, 1880. So with this, I can show you after the meeting on a YouTube how this is done, but they actually, like I say, they cut a core out, put a valve in. It takes about 4 hours to do it. This should be a cut and dry thing tomorrow, but we've got the weather against us. So, but we're still doing it, because we gotta do it. It's, basically, everyone is, especially the MTV, they're real close to threatening us to shutting down the rail line. So, that's where we're at. It's.
You don't know where the leak is.
Again, we're hearing it right at the tracks. We can hear it real loud. Like I say, that I was standing on the other side of the hole. The guys put the magnet on, held the headset up, and you could hear it, but it's just not, it is not showing itself. It must be following the path of rocks down the tracks.
All the gravel under the rails.
Yeah.
Right, and it's surfacing behind Boylan's, but in the area of the tracks. There is some water going in the Boylan's parking lot.
Yeah, her parking lot in the back is lower than the tracks. So
Right.
she's got
Probably
some
by
kind
about
of a
4
crawl
feet.
space,
But,
and the water pouring out of the crawl space into the parking lot,
now,
so.
when they saw that water coming out to Dr. Boland's, right? They
Mhm.
thought the water line, the water main
Right.
broke. Well, didn't they open any faucets inside the building to see if there's any pressure drop? With that much water coming out?
Peter, I agree with you, but the only part of this project that we had was to shut off the curb stop.
No, I have a
We-
problem with
yeah,
that, but
and
I'm
we-
just saying,
and
the
we
first
couldn't.
thing you would do
Yeah.
is go in and open these valves up. And you got that much water coming out.
And I think
Ain't going
you'd hear it in the building.
That's right, you know
You'd
what I'm
hear it
saying?
vibrating through the pipes.
Yeah.
But again, we were only
No,
called, we
I'm
were
not-
never called, no, I'm just explaining.
Yeah.
We weren't called to investigate, we were called to shut off.
Oh,
And
no problem.
Will and Plumman basically felt that they had a leak in that building because of the way it was coming up in the foundation in the back. And I don't think there's a basement in there, I think
There
that's a
isn't.
slab.
No.
There is or isn't? No, no.
You-
because
If
they
you
talked
go
about
around
the
back
fence
from the blacktop up, you can see concrete
Yeah,
block.
yeah, I know.
And then their siding, and their floor is up here.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking their block is their kind of foundation wall,
That's what it was,
Yeah.
sure.
with a footing, most
Yeah,
likely.
I don't think there's a crawl space under there either.
No, the way they
If I
said this is
remember
there's a
watching that
furnace
building
room.
being built.
Actually,
Was
I
that
just
two
have the
buildings
paper-
that they made
The
one?
paper's used in the back corner.
Is that correct? That was 2 buildings and then they built something up between the 2? That's my understanding. But anyhow, that's where we're at. I mean, we're not, the problem with all this is we're in uncharted territory. I've never dealt with the railroad, so we are very cautious in how we're dealing
Well, you're
with it.
doing the right thing.
Well,
Well, I don't wanna end up at Rikers Island.
Yeah.
we're installing the insertion valves
Right.
beyond where we have customer taps.
Right.
So when we shut those 2, we're gonna create 2 dead ends,
Right.
but every customer is gonna still be served.
Oh, yeah.
Then the next step is gonna be dig 2 pits inside of those 2 valves, and we're gonna look into like a clean and line
And now, you guys remember.
project to solidify the pipe.
Yeah.
You remember Lenny Assard, he used to work for High Kemp. Well, High Kemp was bought out by this company, Michaels, they're nationwide. But one of their expertise is making repairs on this. And once we get it isolated, we've already cut 2 holes where they can take, what, was it an 8-foot piece of pipe they want to take out on the
Yeah,
inside?
we're gonna give them a 10 by 8 hole, I guess, and they're gonna chop out an 8-foot piece. Now they can basically camera it, they can clean it, they can probably see where the break is, and I believe it's like a structural liner that'll hold pressure on its own without blowing out.
So that's
But we'll get more details from them once they get in there and see what they gotta see.
And we're also, we've also got a contingency of putting Eureka back on if we find that we can't make enough water to fill that tank. But we still have the 8-inch going South Street. Luckily, this is in the wintertime, a little less water use. That's probably the only thing in our favor right now.
Yeah, this was like August 1st, it'd be, might be a different story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With being able to keep up.
All right.
When you see them wheel shut-offs, you're dead.
Yeah.
You're dead, you don't even touch them, just say, you
Yep.
gotta,
That's it.
Yeah.
you gotta take
valve's
them out.
gone.
Yeah, you're dead, that's it.
Well, like I say, after the meeting, I'll show you a quick 2-minute video on how this.
It's interesting.
This valve, yeah, it is, it's, they've come a long way, because I don't have any trust in insertion valves, but this new style they're doing, it's like putting a brand new valve in.
And the contractor that dug for us indicated that they've done 4 of these valves in the last several months
For aquarium,
with Farley Company.
yes.
Who's doing the insertion valves, and they hold. And I reached out to somebody I know from Aquarian, and he's done this many times, he said. In fact, he had to do a railroad crossing in New Hampshire, and this is the kind of the process he followed, so seems like the thing. Other than jacking a new sleeve, which you don't want to get into any of that.
No way.
No.
And that's gotta be engineered even, that's nothing we can do at the spur of the moment, you know, and again, Tom and I were going back with all kinds of options, how we can get water across some tracks, and
Yeah, run a pipe across the track.
we'll pay for the bus.
What kind of a
Okay.
pipe is it? Is it cast?
It's cast,
Yeah,
yeah.
so,
Actually, it's got
Probably
this
cast
push-
with leaded joints.
And you know what, it's got the same OD as ductile iron, which I'm shocked.
Oh,
Because
yeah?
that was one thing when they dug down, because I wanted to make sure that they could get fittings to match up to it. And it's basically, it's in the same range as ductile iron or modern cast iron. So we don't know whether maybe at one time that was changed, but who's to know?
Vibration.
Yeah.
Vibration could do
Yeah,
it,
the
yeah.
train, we'll sue the train.
There you go.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. All right, thank you, yeah. Keep us abreast what's going
Yeah,
on.
absolutely,
All
absolutely.
You had fun up in Hoytsville on Spring Hill, didn't you? You beat the snowstorm at least.
They just beat it, they just beat it. I had to tell the snowplow driver what he was gonna find, and I put cones around the hole, but yeah, no, they just beat it up there. And that was Tinker that we brought in to do that.
They did a quick job. huh?
Yeah, they were 3 hours,
Yeah, must have been cracked around.
yeah, it was a circle.
The circle, right. Busy, busy time. All right, thank you.
Too busy.
Anything else come before the committee this evening?
Just,
Motion adjourned.
So moved.
Tom, there was no PUC capital project status summary written.
No, I
Yeah.
delivered
I
that.
just
Yeah.
didn't know if I missed it.
No, when I jumped in with Bergstrom and I gave you the updates on the projects.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, Merry
Happy
Christmas.
holidays. Yeah, absolutely.